for Monday, July 20th, 2020 will come to order. Please call the roll.
Councilman Borowski.
Here.
Councilman Lamb. Council President Zala.
Here.
Councilman Stockdale.
Here.
Councilman Finter.
Here.
Councilwoman Philippon.
Here.
Please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement.
Due to the coronavirus pandemic, this meeting has been closed to the public physically and is being live streamed via YouTube with comment period for the public. Notice of this remote meeting was posted on our website with instructions on how the public can connect to live stream this council meeting.
Thank you. And we'll continue with the live streaming until the governor gives the go-ahead to have participation in the meeting room by the public. This time I ask for a moment of silence. Sam Petronella, a resident of Bay Beach Way, passed away very recently. I ask you to keep him in your thoughts. I'm not aware of any other local residents. Of course, as usual, keep your own personal thoughts in mind during the moment of silence, after which I'm going to ask Council President Zolom to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise. Salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Welcome everyone on YouTube to our meeting. Weather's incredibly hot out there. Beach is incredibly busy. We did have to shut down daily sales. How many times this week? Saturday and Sunday because of excessive crowds. In spite of the fact that we erected our pop-up beach badges, beach stands, we still were not able to handle the crowd. A lot of thought that when Island Beach closes, it forces the crowds north. We have free parking, so we're getting inundated. But other than that, we're just dealing with the same kind of problems that beaches up and down the Jersey coast are. 76-degree water today, I think was great. A little rough over the weekend, some lifeguard activity, but everybody is doing a great job. All right, onto the consent agenda. I'll read them by number, requesting council comments along the way. At the end, I'll ask for a motion in a second and then take the roll. Number 186, appointing 3 badge checkers at an hourly rate of $11 and 1 lifeguard at an hourly rate of $12.50.
If I could just interject.
You may.
You've seen a couple lifeguards where we've had to fill a spot. The reason for all of them is their regular jobs have now opened back up. Have to go back to them. We had that with 2 of them, and another one of our guards who's been here for a long time was going to medical school, and now the school's opened back up. So it'd be hard to tell them that.
We're not facing any shortages though.
No, we were able to build a reserve roster of guards that we liked at the tryouts that just missed the cut. We're fortunate a lot of those guards are still available.
Very good. Thank you, Michael. 187, awarding a contract as a proprietary purchase to Rumsey Electric for the purchase of electric meters in an amount not to exceed $30,000 to complete the last phase of replacing all the old electric meters. At the last meeting, we did pass a bond ordinance to finance part of that. 188, appointing 2 clean community workers at an hourly rate of $10.30 for the Department of Public Works. 189, awarding a contract to Cherry Hill Winter Ford under state contract A88215 for the purchase of a 2019 Ford F450 cab and chassis crew cab 4x4 dump truck for Public Works in the amount of $54,010. There was a lot of debate about that purchase that includes a plow, and I think the price that we got on that was extremely good. And I think DPW has been asking for a dump truck for a long time. That also was funded by the bond that we approved at the last meeting. Number 190, urging Governor Murphy to reinstate the homestead benefit program. 191, approving a 50/50 off-premises raffle license to Lavilla School PTO to be drawn on October 18, 2020. 191A, adopting the risk management policy related to wholesale power supply procurement in conjunction with JPM and the Public Power Association of New Jersey. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will ask for
So motion second.
and roll.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Philpott?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Fincher?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Resolutions off consent number 192, approving the annual certification submitted to the Borough by the Lot First Aid Squad under the LoSAP program for 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Philpott?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Fincher?
Abstain.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes, may I just say on that,
Yeah.
on the LoSAP, the first aid in our town, I don't know if you know, that these guys aren't gonna blow their own horns, Mr. Borowski or Mr. Fincher, but let me tell you, they're out constantly. I think I saw Mr. Borowski leaving yesterday, Mr. Fincher had just left, they got another call, he swung around, had another call, I mean, that yours really busy there.
I mean, it's very reflective of what we talked about with the beaches, having to close, stop the sales, and the northern amount of people, today's heat didn't help anything, it was just a lot of people.
I think
Very well appreciated.
it's amazing that they take care of 1,800 in the winter, and all of a sudden, all these people, and the same amount of people are on the first aid. So thank you so much.
We're fortunate, we have a couple of college students that are certified EMTs that are giving us some help, but, you know, they're working also, so, we're holding it together, but it's a struggle, I will assure you that.
And just so the public knows, you're abstaining simply because you're members, not because you oppose the LoSAP.
They do, it's a big, I mean, we have 3 or 4 first aid guys, 1 EMT at the beach, but just having, you know, them to respond at the time when they get there, it's, you know, the call goes out, they're there.
Our squad's been the enemy of the beach for many, many years. We've always had dedicated people. We appreciate that. Thank you. Did we vote on that? We did.
Yes.
Number 193, approving a facilities use application for Beach Butler LLC to utilize our Ocean Beach to deliver chairs and umbrellas to our beach goers and schedule pickup at various times from July 16th to September 7th, 2020. That's not food specifically. He was told about not bringing food up there, correct?
Correct.
It's great.
What is it for?
If
Just
you
for the
you don't want to
chairs,
carry your chairs
umbrellas.
and blankets and umbrellas down, you can make arrangements. He'll pick them up at your house, or take them up there, set them up for you, and then take them down at the end of the day and bring them back home.
Great.
Mayor, if I may, this was discussed by the ordinance committee back a couple of months ago. They're adamant about not commercializing our beach, and they feel that this kind of service is a form of commercialization on the beach. And my question beyond this, and I have no problem with this person or the service, I mean, I can understand it all, but where do we set the limit? How many of these kinds of services are we going to permit on the beach during the beach hours? I mean, whatever they're gonna pay us,
So far, one.
I mean, do we really need it? It's not a money-making thing for us, but it's not enough. I mean, even if they pay us a couple $1,000s, it's not even much to think about. But
I can't envision any other kind of services that could be
how
provided.
about 7 other people want to do the same thing?
Nobody coming
Then
How about 7 other people?
this guy's business is going to be cut.
We said
For
no,
1/7?
we said no initially on this type of thing, not on this particular person or vendor. But generally speaking, the position that we discussed back after the ordinance committee meeting was that we didn't want this type of thing. So now
So
we
are we
know.
going to ban yoga on the beach?
No.
Well, I had a discussion with Mr. Bryce today, and I do think if this goes through tonight, that we really need to relook at what we do and how we treat it. Now, we have a couple of businesses who are pretty lucrative, and so when we get the 10%, it's considerable monies. We charge quite a hefty fee to ice cream trucks, vendors. And then we have things like yoga and et cetera, all of them, aerobics, whatever, lots of activities that we make $1 here and $1 there. Maybe we ought to talk about equalizing everything and coming up with a different kind of formula. Maybe we ought to limit the number of permits and have them pay for the permit up front. And if there's too many vendors, they can auction them the way the ice cream trucks do. We only give 5 ice cream trucks. I mean, do you want 25 of these guys if a bunch of young people just don't care if they make $500 for the summer?
Why don't we cross that bridge when we get to it?
My question is more about the logistics and how this operation actually works. I call up and say, I'd like you to bring up my
That's my understanding of it.
equipment, and then, I mean, where do they sleep my thing?
You're gonna tell them where you want it, to the left of the lifeguard stand on Princeton Avenue. So
Mr. Borowski, that's the one you're bringing up is the one point I was gonna say. This is the one issue we were having with him this year. Last year we talked to him and he stopped the food service. There has been an issue with him bringing food since. But the couple of issues we've had this year are because where he's setting up is where the lifeguard stand ends up going to set up.
Mhm.
Because it does, people may not realize, but the lifeguard stand does change it a couple of feet each way depending on the break each day. So that is the one issue we're having. I did tell him that he has to communicate with the beach department and get that set up so that we're not having that noise. Then our lifeguards have to reset that stuff up.
I appreciate that, but my concern is, I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise ship or at a resort where people set their alarm for 6 o'clock in the morning
Me.
to go put their towel on a beach chair because you can't find one at 10 o'clock in the morning. So if you have the means to, I'm sure this guy's gonna set people up at dark 30 when they're ready to go, have it,
Yes.
I'll leave everything out in front of my house. And he's gonna go set up the most coveted spot up on the beach, whatever that happens to be. I know where I'd like to sit, but by the time I get there, there's not gonna be a place for me. But because I can, shell out $30, whatever he's charging, they're entitled to that, front row seat, so to speak.
Yeah,
That's the concern, and I think it's reasonable. I think it's a fair concern.
That was the issue this weekend he's setting people up, the guards get up there, setting upstairs, 8, 9 o'clock, they're getting that set up where they're gonna put the stand that day on the beach, and there's front row seats are taken. And they had to ask people to, you're gonna have to move. The pen is usually, around the stand is usually 6 feet. This year it's been expanded to 12 because of COVID. So there's space that's needed for the guards to social distance. They've had to ask people, not real thrilled about it, but, the stand's gotta go where the stand's gotta go.
Yeah, because they paid to have their, you can't, it's set up.
Right,
by
and
someone
they
else.
pay for that, and
Dave, you had some comments?
Yeah, part of the concern when we had the ordinance committee is a safety issue. If they're gonna set up an umbrella, and you have a windy day.
I cut you off. I'm sorry. I hit my button and I cut your sound off. Hit your button again. There you go.
Okay, part of it was the ordinance committee, it was a safety issue also with the umbrellas. If you have somebody setting an umbrella up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's windy out, and then people don't get there until 10 o'clock, somebody could get hurt. So that was part of the
Why would you put the
concern.
umbrella up until the people get there?
Why would you put the chairs up with the umbrella up?
The chairs is to get a spot.
You
If you're paying somebody to set
can
you
have
up.
chairs there
Well,
from
he
8
does,
o'clock
there
in
is
the morning
one,
to
you have insurance.
2 o'clock in the afternoon, when I
Why
decide I want to go.
would you put
When you
the
get-
umbrella up
yeah.
until somebody's there? That's ridiculous.
Bob, you got any comments?
No, I can appreciate what
I think it's great.
Mr. Borowski said, also Mr. Finter and Ms. Coco. It's definitely a problem, and didn't even think about the umbrella, but
Yeah,
there's other issues. I remember discussing this last year, and it was a concern.
We just moved, we were worried about this year.
Okay, no one wants to make a motion on it, then I'm assuming. Except,
I'm fine with it.
You wanna make a motion,
I think it's great, some older people probably need some help getting up there. Maybe it's the older people that need to help getting their chairs up, and I certainly don't think anybody's gonna put an umbrella up at 8 o'clock in the morning. If someone's coming, they can put it up when they get there, where the sun is.
that's what you're paying for.
They may not open it, but.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't
Set
open
up,
it,
so
they
you-
wouldn't
I
open
mean,
it. So that's what you
probably
were
what
worried about.
signifies your spot, you can find your umbrella.
I think especially this year with the crowds that we have, I think we have to be concerned with reserving space on the beach for no people, just for chairs, umbrellas, blankets, whatever whatever this person may set up. I mean, if I had my chair set up there every day with my little niche on the beach, I wouldn't go till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I paid to have somebody bring it up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I have my space, I don't have to worry about it.
Maybe we should be renting the spaces out.
Maybe we should, maybe we
For the
should.
season, $1,000 a season.
No, you know, those large umbrellas, somebody, if you had to sit up your own, you may say, ah, forget it, I'm not gonna do that, it's too much work. And yet, if you have somebody doing that for you, it gives you the reason to send somebody else.
Well, I've seen those big things, and not even umbrellas, I forget what you.
No,
call
they
them.
don't.
We banned those
Canopies.
already. We banned those.
Yeah.
already.
We had
issues.
Yeah. We banned those already.
Oh, I saw them on the beach.
Call the police.
I don't know.
All right, do you want to make a motion on
Oh,
this?
well, I will, but nobody will, second
I
it.
suspect you're right.
Nobody will vote on it, so, but I think an older person might need help.
Accompany these people to go up. I mean, if the issue is just, you need somebody to help you
Help you.
bug it up the hill, and they want to,
Or park it on the east side of the dune somewhere where they could then pick it up and move it where they wanted to afterwards.
when you arrive at the beach and set up your own.
So there could be some solutions to this problem, but I don't think under the current setup, it sounds like it's very popular here. No motion.
I know a lot of old people can't even carry a chair.
Mayor, it's possible to work with this gentleman, to work out a procedure that will
Good idea.
eliminate most of these issues in some way.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about the reservation aspect and being at resorts, not being able to
I
get a
mean,
chair.
could you imagine this Saturday and Sunday with 50 chairs on our
Sitting
beaches
vacant.
with no people?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's-
More of a headache than it's worth.
Can someone work something out with him?
Yes.
Talk to him.
Have them come in and then see if we can work out some of the issues.
If I could, Mayor, and I hate to, tailor this to one individual, because like Mrs. Phillips said, this young gentleman he's very easy to work with.
Yeah.
He's willing to do whatever we want, very accommodating, very upfront, but I don't know if the next 6 are gonna be. It's not, Mrs. Phillips said, we can work with this gentleman, but
Well, I mean, if we create regulations,
Right.
then all of the subsequent applicants will be controlled by the same regulations.
so we do have, I think we have a pretty good rapport with him.
The first guy through the door's got to expect that he's gonna run into questions.
Yeah.
Once the system is established, it's easy for
Yeah.
copycats to come in and capitalize on his hard work, but, he's elected to do that. I think we should work with him a
Yeah,
little bit.
work with him. I think Bob will work with him well.
Okay?
I think we should get some guidelines down in writing, so if more vendors come along, the guidelines are
Right,
set.
yeah.
And then I.
No, we did not even,
Okay.
no motion was made.
What is he gonna do? Is he gonna work with him?
We'll give him a call and see if we can work out the details. Number 194 is the bills list, the amount of $562,328.94.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Phillips?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Pinto?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Ordinance for final adoption, public hearing, ordinance number 2020-06, ordinance of the Borough of Lavallette amending, revising, and supplementing Chapter 53A of the Borough Code entitled subdivision, and more specifically, Chapter 53A entitled subdivision, and Chapter 57 of the Borough Code entitled definitions, and more specifically, that portion of Chapter 57-4 entitled street. The last meeting, we introduced this ordinance because we've run into a situation on the boardwalk, Ocean Avenue, where perhaps the inner lots are not conforming because they don't have access to a street. The question is really, is Ocean Avenue considered a street or is it not? As far as new construction or subdivision up there, there are 2 applicants. One was vacant land and one is a pre-existing house that's going to be demolished that people will be looking to subdivide. If they are conforming lots, a formal subdivision is not required before the planning board. If they are non-conforming lots, then a subdivision is required. And also, if they are non-conforming, then anyone who wants to do anything to the house is now doing it to a non-conforming lot, which requires a variance to do work to the house on these inner lots. Mr. Bryce asked me whether this ordinance should be run past the planning board. Mr. George, are you there?
I am, Your Honor, and this is a zoning-related ordinance, and it should be referred to the planning board. I would note that I did spend time discussing this and proposals, and made some changes with Terry Brady, who was the planning board attorney. We both recognize the particular problem. However, under the terms of the municipal land use law, this would be referred to the planning board, excuse me, for their review and a recommendation to return to the mayor and council for final action.
And they have the next meeting of their board is scheduled for
Wednesday.
so if we can re-advertise final adoption for the next meeting, and that would be after recommendation is received from the planning board?
Agreed, that's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And we're going to carry that, is that the correct term? Carry it until the next meeting?
Yes.
Yes, we're going to carry that to the next meeting. Thank you.
Mayor, can I just make one comment about the proposal? Just to make a point, in other aspects of our zoning law, the boardwalk is referred to as a street
Yes.
and as the frontage to those properties. So when this first came up, I think it's more terminology than it is a change of any kind of procedure or any kind of ruling. The front is the front. The fact that we say that Ocean Avenue or Ocean Road,
Front.
whatever it's called, is a street, if we don't use that terminology, it doesn't change the fact that we have treated it as a street, and it happens to be a postal address as a street, which I think is even more indicative of the fact that that is considered a street.
Yeah, I would agree.
Unconventional street.
Just cleaning up an oversight here that was picked up by
Yeah.
Mr. Brady during application,
Yeah.
and that's fine. So we'll refer that to the planning, the zoning, the combined board for their next meeting, and we'll expect a
It's
report
Wednesday.
back for you. Very good, thank you. Unfinished business, any council member have unfinished business that they would like to discuss?
Well, I don't know what business this is, but I'll tell you what. We canceled all our concerts, not all, but we canceled concerts, we canceled movies. And it got to be that there was nothing to do, nothing to look forward to in this town. So what I did was I decided that we'd start the concerts again on July 12th. We started the concerts, and I asked Teddy for flags. And Teddy sent me down 100 flags, and with the help of some residents, we put these flags out 10 feet apart from one another, and as people came to the concert and the movies on Tuesdays, we reminded them they have to social distance and to sit around with their group around a flag. And if they want to use the bathroom, which they told me the bathroom was open at the firehouse, if you want to use the bathroom, you have to use your mask. So they can use the bathroom. I had the police down there crossing them, and people were thrilled that there was a great band. Wilbur Whitman's band was there. Now this last week, Strictly 60s was there, and this next week will be A Little Bit of Heaven, which is always a very popular band, and the kids were thrilled. Parents brought their kids down, and actually one of the residents helped me by putting the concerts and the movies on Facebook, and put a sign in every store in the window so you could see it. And Dave's going to make sure, and Mark's going to put the pink, I have here, there's a pink slip that Kim made for me, naming all the concerts and all the movies, and come join us. So that will be in all the community centers. So
Be true to the rumor that Michael Bublé is going to be there in August. Michael Bublé, somebody said that, I didn't know this.
I think that's the soda you're talking about.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no,
Bublé.
the same concert,
The soda?
same groups that we had before have been down here, and some good movies, and so it's been nice. It's really been nice, and people are thrilled that Lavalette took the time to do this for everybody. Also, I want to mention, so we'll be there Sunday and Tuesday. Come. Also, the Matrax went out. We had that $10,000 grant, and then Jessica Krill from Beach Days from All helped us, and Teddy took the time at 7 o'clock in the morning to take pictures of them putting the matriarchs down. And Wednesday, we're going to be there with Jessica Krill and take pictures for the newspaper, and Diane English and her granddaughter that's in the wheelchair, she will be there, and we'll take a picture. This is nice to have a real place access. Now, what happened was Teddy wanted a different type of matriarch, so I guess we ordered the one he could go over, but this wasn't working. So Jessica Krill said, look, Ted, she met Ted and talked to Ted. Anything you want to change, you change it, I'll pay for it. Just to make it easy for him to get over it and break the beach. And it just turned out that for years, Teddy Malowski, his daughter, watched Jessica Krill's 2 handicapped children for years, so he knew her right away. So she'll give him anything he needs to go down there, and they work really hard. They work really hard to get this in place. And a lot of people are using it for everything, for their beach wheels, anything to wheel down and make it easier. It goes down and then it makes a T. Now, another thing to tell you was, remember we looked at Moby mats, the new Moby mats, but we didn't want to spend that much money on the new Moby mats. So when Joanne and I were at the convention, we met Access Rec, and he said he would do a ramp for us for free. But we're not too crazy about the mat. Have you been down to see it? We're not too crazy about it, so.
Little President, you mean?
Little President. Have you
See,
been?
up the ramp, not the one on the.
No,
I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's a little slippery, and the
Yeah, we're not
anchors
too
are
crazy about it.
tripping hazards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dave called me and said that, so I told Access Rec to come and take it away. So in the meantime, Bob had made a very good friend with Brent Gray, who was one of the big managers of Moby Mats and the new Moby Mats. So I called Brent Gray up, and he said, gee, Bob never called me back. I said, well, that's because we weren't gonna buy one, and we were ready to have us purchase. We got Access Rec for nothing, but he's coming to take it away. He said, well, I'll talk to my boss and see what we can do. I said, could you do that whole ramp for us for nothing? So he said, I'll talk to my boss Monday. So he talked this morning, and he called me, and they're gonna do that whole ramp for nothing. We don't like it, we don't like it, but
What kind of mat, though?
a thick, brand new Moby mat, the one that's all over. They made it mint. They sold Moby mats to Orton Beach, they sold them to Seaside Heights, they sold them to Point Pleasant Beach. They sold them all over these Moby mats. So he's going to come.
I think it's good that we're trying out
You're
different
trying.
products and seeing. I got a couple of emails this week from a resident in North Lavallette, asking for some kind of assistance with elderly people going up the normal ramps, and I directed him to the handicapped ones. He said, well, it's even longer to walk up
Oh, it is.
those. I said, well, we're trying another product as well. We tried one, we didn't like it, we're trying a new one, so, we'll have to see, but we're not gonna commit to do every street. If you'd like to donate one,
Yeah, okay.
On your street.
Yeah.
that we would put it on your street.
Yeah, and also I told him, I said, he's gonna do that whole thing for free. And I said, and in the future, I can always go for CDBG grants, and maybe we can do.
We're gonna see how it works out. That's
See
good
how it
that we're
works.
experimenting.
So I just want you to know that.
Thank you.
Anita, do you know how much the ramp costs for the handicap?
I don't know, I know it was like 60,000 for the other,
60.
but I don't know what this one costs, but
Well-
I'll see him tomorrow. He wanted to meet Bob down here too, I'll have the day off, and I'll talk to him.
Ask him to give you a price on
Yes,
just the
I will.
regular non-handicap up and over,
Okay, yes.
so we know what we're talking about
Yes.
here, if we decide that we like
If you
it.
like the
Yeah,
material.
if we like the material.
Because there are a
And
few
the work involved
there are a
with
few
taking them
sample
up.
materials in Mr. Bryce's office that Dave and I looked at today. And for different reasons, I'm not happy with some of the materials at all.
Not
Definitely
so.
not.
No.
Some are better for one reason, and Dave points out that they're more dangerous for other reasons. They can become slippery. So you gotta have a balance. The ones that are metal with a plastic coating, we're going right back to Moby mats from before, because when that plastic cracks, the
Right.
metal comes through and now you got a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, these aren't metal.
The ones that are all plastic, like the Access mats, has that little plastic stuff, that's good, except Dave points out when there's too much sand, they become slippery. So we gotta find the right thing for our particular circumstances.
Yes.
Or just keep them the way they are.
There you go, high five.
If you don't find the right material, you win.
You know,
That's
I kind
I
of
think
feel
the
that
same
way
ones
too,
you have
except
on the beach.
the hit, and I go to one beach, I'm not going to every beach. The handicap ramp on New York Avenue, takes a beating from the rain.
I think that's.
And there are gullies that's caused by the water. It's not that we're not maintaining them. It's impossible.
Well, we can maintain that easier, you know, we can send the guy, they gave us a lot of extra materials.
Well, they're gonna have to go up every week then,
And we may.
or every rainstorm,
Okay.
you know, whatever.
Dave, did you want to add something?
Well, no, I just had something when everybody's done.
Okay.
Well, he's coming today or tomorrow. Yeah.
Jim, would you want to comment on this topic?
I only asked Dave if any of the products he saw were similar to what I saw at Worthy Beach. And he said that seems to be what they have at the beach clubs on the north end of town. And I think it's a pretty good product.
It's an easy product to handle, it's not real heavy.
That's the new Moby mat.
It's, I don't know what it's called, Tom's ever supplied it to us.
It's the
It's a
new
new
Moby
movie
mat.
net.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
they're
That's what
tan.
we're looking for.
All right, we'll test it.
Okay.
Keep it posted.
Yeah, I just want to mention also that I was very happy with the bikes on the boardwalk. And 5 to 8 is really working well, much better than it did last year when they were together in the morning, everybody trying to get their way. So I think that 5 to 8's worked well.
No, and I've been up there
20
with
years.
I've been up there with those hours, I would agree with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be a lot of people up there, and it seems like it'd be a better time than going in the morning. However, what I've seen is.
We have some violators.
Well, we have people that complain to me about, not those times, but that they're up there all day long riding bikes and things like that. But I haven't seen that personally, and I go up every day, but I haven't seen that. It looks like it's.
I've heard of some violators during the day, but I don't think it's
If
a volume of
I had
violators.
someone complain, and they don't realize our lifeguards and our beach
Right.
police officers
Maybe.
use that.
They use that too.
One of
I mean,
the, one of the confusing things is that the boardwalk itself is painted, no bikes after 10. So it's a little confusing, you know, the pit, last year's rule and this year's rule. I have not heard major complaints. I mean, there were some dogs on the boardwalk. I've heard more complaints about the dogs. Not a lot either, not millions, but, you know, violators are violators, no matter what we do.
Right.
But I
Another
think it's
experiment that seems to be working.
I think it's better.
I think it's better.
Are you done with the Moby mats and everything?
Yeah, we-
Bikes?
We went on bikes and dogs, so it's your turn.
All right.
Hold on, one more comment on the mat.
Matt,
Matt.
one more comment.
We'll get back to you, Dave.
Well, we were talking about the handicap ramps that Mr. Lane was talking about. There are some maintenance issues with that. And we are repairing the I-5 constantly on that. One issue we had, this is what came up with President Avenue, what Mr. Long was talking about. That ramp that was on there, or that material that was put on there, it washes out underneath of it. So regardless, it still gets cascaded underneath. And ends up washing it out, creates a void where it becomes a little dangerous because then that material
Falls in the hole.
down is stepping down, and then it creates tripping hazard.
It'll be gone
So-
tomorrow.
But I'm talking about, that's a concern regardless of what type of mat we put on there, we have to figure out a way.
And it's hard to repair then too, because then.
You gotta pull them out to get to the hole.
So these, don't forget, these handicap ramps, and we went to the Army Corps immediately after the whole project was over with. And, you know, they kind of pumped it on it, and, you know, they gave us special material and said, good luck, but, you know, the way it's designed, there is no drainage. So when it comes down into those areas, those corners, with the board that's up there, because it has to have a high board on those, handicap crossovers, it ends up washing out underneath, and that's just inherently due to the design, so we're constantly able to repair it now, but when we have mats on there, it's gonna wash out underneath. So that's something we're gonna have to find out.
Okay. It's very good. Okay.
Thank you. Dave, you ready?
All right, this is about the census. The census, it was supposed to be completed by July 31st. If you haven't done it on your computer, on the email, please do it. They have extended it to October 31st, Halloween. So please get it in because it affects what the resources and everything that Lavalette gets from the government.
Do you have our rate? I just got our rate, it's very low. We're at 23% response rate.
Really?
The county is at 62%, the state's at 64%, and the country is at 62%.
Okay.
I don't remember getting one. How
They're designating towns that, any town that's under 40% is gonna get the door-to-door knockers. So because we have such a low percentage rate, expect door-to-door knockers to come anytime after August 1st.
If you don't want people knocking at your door, please fill it out online and get it over with. It affects the,
So it came in the mail, but you answer online, is that what you're telling me?
Yes. You can do both.
I believe I saw one.
You can send back in mail, and you can also do it online.
Okay.
online is very easy. It takes about 2 minutes.
Did you
You're
go to
done.
anything for online?
They never got this mail too, for whatever reason.
Because I never got anything in the mail, so.
You can just, I think you can just go on the census.com. So
And just type in your address and that.
Yeah.
On a different subject, the bushes down by the library look great.
Oh, yeah,
Spoke
so
about the last meeting. They did a nice job.
Yeah, they did do a good job. Okay, is any other unfinished business?
one more thing, and then I'll be done. Last meeting, we were talking about the meter flow data for this year compared to last year. And it's a lot less this year now. We are 6 million gallons under from what we were last year at this time. So,
And we have more people
We
here.
have more
because of
people,
COVID.
I think.
There's something screwy with that system. There's something
I think a
wrong.
lot of it had to do with the heavy rains we had last year.
So that's good news
6
for us.
million gallons is a lot,
So we'll have excess funds hopefully in that account.
hopefully.
Very good. All right, that's good news then.
I could ask one question.
Yes.
Bob, Mr. Bryce, what's going on with President Avenue Lake? I know,
So the county is working on that right now. It's between them and the contractor. The county does not believe that it was constructed according to specifications. So they're going back and forth with the contractor. That's why you see it's not getting finished by the contractor right now. They believe that there could be an issue with the flapper valves. Either the flapper valves are effective or they're not installed correctly. So the county, as you see, put a large, heavy volume trench pump out there.
Yeah.
And whenever it's raining, we're telling people, when you start to see flooding, we instruct the police department to call the county, or get someone out to operate that pump for us. That's not an automatic pump that needs to be turned on.
turn
So
on.
we need to have the police and any residents that see it, call up the police department, they'll notify the county and get someone out there to operate that pump. But, as of right now, as you've seen, there hasn't been any work going on the last couple of days here. I think there's a lot of assessment taking place at this point right now.
Clearly something wrong with it. The pump can clear it out. I mean, the citizens down there are grateful for the pump. It's a temporary patch until we get this thing fixed.
And one of the citizens down there, they told her to fix her whole property up and they'll pay for it.
But I can tell you, the county has been on this from the day it started to flood. They got down here, and they've had plenty of resources and people there.
Good.
They've been really on top of
We
this.
take care of it.
They're doing a good job.
All right, any other unfinished business?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just
Michael?
real quick, just something we've noticed on the beach. If you're going off the beach, whether it's going to get lunch in one of our restaurants or going home, just take your badge with you, because when you come back up and you don't have your badge, you're not getting back on the beach without the badge. You have to, where the ordinance is, the badge must be on your person. We're pretty good about that, putting it on the hat, putting it on the bag, but you have to have it when you go on and off the beach. Just ask that you have that. Makes it easier for the guard, or for the badge checker, makes it easier for you getting back home. So please have the badge with you when you leave and come back.
All right, on to new business. Any council member with new business?
Sorry, Mayor, I think you wanted me to cover just one item
Yes.
on the unfinished. The tax rate has been set.
Yes,
Last year's tax rate, as we know, is 0.979. After the revaluation, the tax rate has now been set at 0.821. So that's right around the
that's the
neighborhood.
combined total rate.
That is the combined total rate. That includes county, all the county taxes, the school taxes, and the municipal taxes.
So due to our reval, we've, shaved 15 cents there?
Yeah, we were anticipating about 0.79 under next year's values, but it ended up coming at 0.821, which is right in the neighborhood.
Okay.
The municipal rate did go down, the municipal portion.
Yes.
It was the school and the county, which
It went up.
did go up a little bit.
So we did the reval, Anita.
Yeah.
And because we have much more value of property here, we have to cut the rate in order to not be collecting more taxes. So we cut the local rate, but because the school and the county had to go up a little bit, we didn't go down as much as we had hoped that we would, but we still, I think we're either second or third in the state lowest tax rate. So I'm very happy about that.
Well, people are buying houses unseen.
Yes.
We are the bottom handful.
Yeah, very good. All right, thank you, Mr. Bryce. Any other unfinished business then? On to new. Mr. Dolphon had some new business.
Yes, I've distributed a copy of something that I got off the internet. A complaint came through the grapevine to me about someone in town who was out for the evening, and when they came home to their house, which is, I'm not even sure what street, but sort of on the ocean side of Lila, the house was completely filled with smoke. And the smoke was from a fire pit in a neighboring property. And the question came to me, is there no regulation? Is there anything that can be done? So I looked it up, and I was very surprised to find this. This is from another town in New Jersey. But if you read it, it talks about not only the state regulation, but the fire code rules under the UCC, which have nothing to do with any particular town, but these are the rules that govern everybody. We don't have anything on the books to even give guidelines as to fire pits or open fires on private property, residential property, and what the conditions are. So I made copies for everybody to take a look at. I think it's something that we need to address. I don't have a proposal. It's too early. We haven't even discussed it. You haven't had a chance to read it, but I do think that we're leaving ourselves wide open with no regulation, and it seems to me that it belongs to our code enforcement officer under the UCC regulations and our construction official in one way, but it belongs to our fire inspector and perhaps our fire department. I'm not sure exactly who would be responsible, but we've got two components here. And my recommendation is that we take a look at it and decide what it is we may want to do, if we want to do anything.
Okay.
Okay?
Interesting read. Thank you. Any other new business?
There's some new business under there.
I have some new
Oh,
business.
okay.
Yes. I want to make sure that everybody else got their new business.
Maybe we have the annual Public Power Association rate comparison. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at it, but I always like to look at the 1,000 kilowatt hour to compare the different municipalities within the organization as well as the investor-owned utilities within the state. This year, at that level of usage, Lavallette's your bill as a homeowner would be $1,710, where the average across the consortium would be $2,023, and the average across the investor-owned utilities would be $2,100.05. So
That's about an average usage for a home, 1,000. That sounds about right.
yeah, a little over $100 a month, more or less.
Yeah. 150.
And that's takes into account our summer rate, our winter rate.
So we're doing better than the consortium as an average, and certainly better than the investor-owned, which is great news for our ratepayers as well.
You know, I look back for the last 5 years. In 2008, in 2016, we were at 1671 in same usage. So 5 years later, we're at 1710. So, and that was just that little blip that we experienced when we had the outcome of the Federal Energy Commission who made us pay.
Yeah, oh yeah, the payments on the lawsuit.
Right.
Yes.
So that's what caused that.
Okay, thank you.
And I just would like to thank our guys at the electric utility. We've experienced two of the hottest days that I can remember. And Tom Sugar had some outages, and these guys kept the lights on, kept the conditioned air going, and kudos to them.
Are we still doing that, the turn it off things to?
Tomorrow is one of our peak advisement days. Today was a peak advisement day, but the suggestion was from noon till 9 p.m. So rather than make that announcement, knowing that Monday, hopefully, there's less people here. Peak advisement days only are counted on weekdays. So on weekends, when we usually probably hit an exorbitant peak, it doesn't come into the equation.
Right.
So tomorrow, they're requesting a peak advisement day from 3 PM to 7 PM. So if we could get that announcement out.
Yeah, roll call, Mr. Price, you can
every-
handle that? Mr. Price, you can handle that roll
Yes, sir.
call? Okay, very good. Jim and I also went out, this is probably unfinished business, we went out to Villanova University in Pennsylvania to investigate another one of these standalone generators to possibly be used for shading our peaks. We looked at, how many kilowatt was that? 2 kilowatt. And I was shocked at how quiet this thing was. A little larger than we had hoped, looking like we can't fit it into the place that we thought possibly we could, but we went out and looked at a diesel one, which was incredibly noisy. This one, the loudest part of it were the cooling fans on the roof. It was incredible that this thing could be running and you're in that close proximity and non-detectable. It's like giant air conditioners on the roof. The fans were the only noise that we could hear. I did see the aerial. We'll talk some more about possible locations down there at the Borough Yard.
Did you have a chance to review that?
I got it, but I did not see it yet. You're talking about the contract?
Yes.
Mr. Bryce has started the review, and I have as well. We're gonna have some comments on it, but if we don't have a place for it,
Understood.
no sense in wasting our energies.
And it is a fossil fuel generator, albeit natural gas. And the state of New Jersey is really trying to wean everyone away from that fuel source. 75% of homes in New Jersey are heated by natural gas, so it's going to be with us for a while. But
What about that idea you were kicking around about the ground mounts here this
Well,
time?
Jim was gonna talk to the legal
Yeah.
representatives about that. Do you have any progress on that?
it's a
Touchy one?
Yeah.
We'll keep that one in the discussion stage until further notice. Okay.
But if Mayor, along those same lines, the wind farm that's going to be built offshore has an interesting phenomenon because it's so expensive to build that unit that they cannot sell any of the capacity into the PJM marketplace. And it's an incredible amount of money that they're just leaving on the table. So the Public Powers Association is actually in negotiations to see if we cannot
Get it directly piped in the borough along.
well, it's the capacity. We can buy the capacity from the wind farm that other people, and then not have to buy it from somebody else.
Interesting.
So it's taking legs, so we'll see how that works.
Just keep coming my electric bill, I might become a wind farm advocate.
Not in Level today.
Offshore wind farm.
Yes, Mayor, the opposition to that has started to put out a lot of material about the disposal of the arms, the blades of those wind farm things when they're old and damaged and everything. There's no place to put them. They're not biodegradable. It's worse than our recycling issue, and we're creating yet another environmental problem by trying to solve an environmental problem.
We should have those two groups confront each other.
They should.
I think I shared with you the
25
article
years,
from the American Public Powers Association magazine that they're running into exactly that problem in California where they started some of these wind farms 25 years ago.
They have the same
And
problem.
at the end of their useful existence,
Solar
and they're
panels,
abandoning them in place.
Yeah, green.
And there are these, eyesores up there that there's no provision in any of the contracts that
Solar
demolish
panels,
these things upon.
there's
their-
no place to dispose them, so you're gonna have, instead of the dump for the garbage, we're gonna have the
You mean
dump.
it's not the perfect solution?
We don't have a perfect.
I'll hold my tongue on that one.
Okay, we got that.
It depends on what,
I'm gonna read that.
I can just put it on there.
The juvenile issue. The juvenile issue.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna get to Okay, we might as well do it right now. I'll introduce it. Got some, you might have heard about the problems that Tom's River was having in the northern beaches with the crowds of kids being dropped off, left. They have arrived at the Borough of Loveland. Last night, there was a pretty substantial incident down at the basketball courts, police involvement. I mean, it was a pretty severe incident.
A lot of kids.
A lot of kids, trouble, fights. One of the kids' mother came to pick him up. He's hopped in the car, 16 years old, took off with the car, almost ran over one of our police officers. So it's just migrated here. We had some fear that that might occur. We discussed it with the police department, obviously, and the recommendation is that we mirror the restrictions that Tom's River's put on so that they're not just dropping the kids off here.
What is the restriction?
Yeah, well, Mr. Bryce is going to read what those restrictions are. So clearly, the juvenile allowed last night was from Tom's River, so they've just moved them. They're still dumping their kids off to go have a good time. So they've chased them out of the northern. They're here. Maybe we can chase them down to the south.
I was wondering why my grandson didn't want to go down to the
Yeah.
forest. He always goes to the forest,
Yeah.
but he didn't go.
So you'll perhaps appreciate the resolution, Mr. Bryce.
So we still have that local emergency proclamation that the chief signed on March 26th. It's still operating under that, so the chief would be able to sign this under his role as emergency management coordinator. That's similar to what Tom's River did. Again, they piggybacked into all the governor's executive orders, the state declaration of emergency, and then their local emergency declaration that they had. And we would do the same thing there. Again, the reasons are because we've had some increased criminal mischief, not only on the bayfront, but on beachfront as well over the last couple of weeks. We've had the instances of, them failing to comply with social distancing, wearing masks, being on top of each other, so it does create a health issue in that respect. Not like other areas of the town where we are able to maintain that. With this, we're just not simply able to maintain it. The provisions that we would do would be effective immediately. All persons 17 years of age and under are prohibited to be upon a public street, avenue, boulevard, place, walkway, alley, park, parking lot, beach, or any public area or unimproved private property located in the Borough of Loveland between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. unless accompanied by a parent or legal guardian. The Loveland Police Department is charged with enforcement of this order. Penalties for violation of this order are established under state statute A:9-49 and A:9-50. The curfew imposed pursuant to this order shall remain in effect through September 7th, 2020. And all provisions of the prior local emergency declaration not consistent will remain in full force and effect. Again, it's similar to Tom's River, so it would be consistent from town to town.
What time is that?
9 p.m. to 5 a.m.
And the age is 17.
17 under without a guardian.
So at 9 o'clock, without a guardian,
You gotta go home.
Again, the two primary areas, most of the bayfront, we're starting to have a lot of congregation for the house and some instances.
I can attest to that. I'm telling you, every night I see large groups, and I've called up. I called the borough superintendent. He had some damage to the gazebo area about a week or two ago. He said the Reese Avenue was vandalized, and that was just brand new. I mean, we just repaired that, so there's a lot of problems.
We've had some damage from the beautification committee has done with the boardwalk.
Do we need to adjust the light timing down there to coincide with this? What time do the lights go off now, Bob? Do we need
10
to-
o'clock.
I think it's 10 o'clock.
Do we want to cut them off at 9 as well? Or do we want to leave them open so that we can do enforcement better with the lights on?
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Let the adults have an hour.
Let the adults in.
Good. Any objections? Anybody want to make a comment on it?
I have a comment, it's not really an objection, it's just a question. I believe we have some 16, at least 15, 16, 17-year-olds that work in some of our restaurants as waitresses or waiters or busboys. What do? They don't drive. Their parents are gonna have to pick them up from work if it's 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
If you'd like, I believe our if I'm remembering correctly, our ordinance that we use for Halloween has a provision in there for returning from work, religious service, anything along those lines. So if you'd like to.
Excuse, that should be.
Let's add that in there.
Okay.
Is it possible to give those people, the young people, some kind of identification that they'll have to carry? We could create something quickly.
Their course uniform will probably suffice.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, some places have a uniform, sure. That doesn't necessarily mean they're on duty, for that night, but,
I think we can vest the discretion of the police department to make that determination.
okay.
The worst case scenario is the employer just gives them a letter that, they work for me, their shift ends at sometimes
Well, I'm
after.
sure-
I don't foresee that as a problem.
I'm
The
sure it
problem is the
happens.
congregation,
Yes.
and if they're congregating on the way home from work, then they fall under
Yeah.
the provision and should be sent.
Okay, as long as we can,
I don't foresee a problem with that. But anything else, Mr. Price?
That is it, sir.
All right.
Well,
I have a little bit.
we should make that a resolution out to.
Do we need to make a resolution? We're gonna do it under the authority of the chief of police.
Yeah, Mr. George, we can just do it under the, as a amended proclamation of local emergency disaster.
That's correct, Mr. Vice. Under the existing executive orders, the chief can promulgate it. You don't require a resolution. You can add the modification just suggested with regard to employment from the Halloween curfew. You don't need to do anything further.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anita, you had some new
Yeah.
business.
We have very nicely hosted the triathlon every year. And they're running the bikes and the swimming, and they've been so happy to come here. And they were planning to come this year, but of course, COVID kind of stopped all that. They had to cancel the triathlon. And this was a little letter that John Stock, the chairman of it, wrote this little letter, and we went down to the gazebo, because what happened was, as I read the letter, you'll see, COVID-19 came and changed our world. It locked down our lives, but not our spirits, never. Our spirits would rise in an effort to aid others. Run for a Reason was created, a virtual run to raise money to feed those in need. In true Team Zebra multi-sport spirit, we found a way to hopefully brighten another's day. Together with Fulfill, we will help feed others. We are proud to donate $2,000 to Fulfill. We would like to thank Fulfill, the Borough of Lava Rocks Sprint Triathlon, as well as the Jersey Shore Tri Club for all their efforts. Pure Vida. And this picture was in the paper, some of you saw it. We went down to the gazebo and we were all invited. It was supposed to be down in Tom's River, but he wanted it in the Lava. He said, that's where we race, that's where we love. He wanted it to be in Lava, so he presented the check. And I'm sure a lot of you saw it in the local paper, so it was a great thing.
And they'll be back next year.
And they'll be back next year. Everybody's planning on next year. One thing I wanted to mention, I don't know, last year, the concerts, when we had the concerts, I couldn't do it because I was a councilwoman, but I had 2 volunteers that would walk around during the concert and collect money. And I think last year we collected over $2,000 at the concert to help pay for them. Well, this year it's not a good idea to do it because handing money could pass germs or whatever. So someone at the concert the other night, oh God, I want to give money for this. This is great that you do this. So she suggested, why don't you put a box out? Thank you, a big thank you box. If we can put our money in the box, then you can quarantine that for 2 weeks and then take the money out and use it towards the concert. But I said, well, I'm going to ask mayor and council what you think about that idea. I should put it, what do you think about that thank you box? Or should we skip it for the year?
No, if you want to do that, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't.
I suggest to empty it after the concert.
Oh, it's not going to be a permanent fixture.
Oh, no, I was going to take it back and give it to the take whatever's in it. So you think it's a good
Yeah, I
idea?
think it's good.
Thank you box? Okay, all right, I'll make it thank you box. I think that would be a nice idea.
careful with the box.
Careful with the box.
Don't leave it on the thing.
And one last thing here.
Yep.
Our little paper is beautiful. I brought some up just to remind everybody. Little paper has everything in it. You need anything done, you got helpers. And also right now, if you buy it, there's a coupon here. If you buy 6 bagels at Bacon Bagels, you get 3 free. So I mean, hold on to this great paper, it's a beautiful little paper. And I did sign up, I think I was the first one, signed up for the lava walk. They are going to have the lava walk August 2nd at, the
Music Man.
Music Man. And this is gonna be on the shirt, and you can sign up online and join us as we raise a lot of money for, finding a cure for cancer.
Like the sixties, wasn't it?
All that piece.
Okay, that's it.
Yes.
All right, I got a letter today from the Founders Day Committee, which I'm going to read on for Mayor Cicero and Loveland Council, after careful consideration of the guidelines from both the CDC and the state of New Jersey, and for the health and safety of our Loveland residents and visitors, the Loveland Founders Day Committee has regretfully decided to cancel the Founders Day event previously scheduled for September 12, 2020. Since the COVID-19 pandemic situation has been changing regularly and the status of the outbreak and stay-at-home guidelines continue to vary, we feel that it is in the best interest of our town and the sanctity of the event to cancel the upcoming event. We look forward to planning a spectacular Founders Day for 2021. The factors that contributed to our decision include the health and safety of our residents, vendors, and visitors, our ability to maintain and control proper guidelines that include social distancing, masks, and sanitation, the cancellation of similar events in surrounding towns, and the ability of the Founders Day Committee to properly unfold a high-quality event in a shortened time period. In addition, we have received only 30% of our usual vendor applications. The committee expressed concerns with the amount of people normally in attendance, small children using amusement rides, and necessary sanitation practices, proper social distancing for food and craft venues, and spacing in open areas. Our committee needs enough time to plan and coordinate the event, and currently the state of New Jersey does not allow gatherings of more than 500 participants. We also fear changes in our public health that would affect the event closer to the proposed date and jeopardize the quality of the event that has been held successfully for the past 8 years. The committee's decision was not made in haste. While we understand the disappointment our decision will bring, we value the health and safety of our residents, vendors, and visitors first and foremost. We look forward to planning a bigger and even better event in September 2021.
Well, it's sad to hear that, but I can understand it. But everybody asked that concert, they were all asking if there's going to be a Founders Day. Everybody looks forward to it. Tell them.
Yeah, with positive tests and, contamination levels climbing and the vendor number at less than a third of what it typically is, and the fact that there are no other events, it might have created a really tremendous crowd here, which we would not be able to control. The kids' rides would need to be sanitized after every kid got off. It's just not a practical situation, and they really don't want to have an event that's not going to be as good as the ones that they've had in the past. They're very sensitive to that. So with deep disappointment, we'll have to accept their decision. Any other new business that anyone wants to discuss? Seeing no further, we will.
Mayor, that Ocean Cares.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Jim did the Public Power Association already. Okay, I'm sorry. Ocean Cares grant agreement review and discussion. You have that?
Yes, that would just be a approval of the agreement with Ocean Cares. For those of you that have been briefed on it, this is the federal stimulus money that was bequeathed to the county. I think it's $107 million, and the county is there for using some of it for their expenses and then administering the distribution of it to municipalities. The way it's going to work is we will still apply for emergency protective measures under FEMA. If those measures are approved under FEMA, FEMA will give us a 75%, then the Ocean Cares will cover the 25% for us. And then any other costs that were not covered in their entirety and are eligible under Ocean Cares will then be given 100%. The thing is, it's, again, a limited amount of funds for an unlimited pool of recipients, so to speak. Unlimited in that everybody's going to be looking for some sort of money. So there's no set amount that every town is going to get. But it is a good program and will help us recoup some of the costs that we've incurred, emergency protective measures, supplies, some manpower, I believe, for cleanings and responses, things related to COVID. So this is a program the county is administering, and then we will just go ahead and sign some agreement with them.
Yeah, any objections to signing that agreement? Do we need a resolution on it?
Yeah, so we could vote on it now.
Yeah. Somebody want to make a motion?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philippon?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes,
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
That motion is approved. If there is no further new business, we will move to comments from the public. Now your favorite part of the meeting.
It's there's a lot here.
There's a lot.
Sure. If I could remind everyone to submit your name and address, please, and then we will read it. That being said, I'm going to skip around here because some have not properly identified themselves. So going down, if Russell Burns would identify himself, I can read his comment. Rich Poshio. I had Marlene Brown Chamberlain, 26B bond. Where are the young people on bikes at night, 9 to 11 p.m. on Boardwalk? Now the 6-seater pedal wagon on wheels on Boardwalk, madness. Mr. Poshio, again, if you could just give me his address, I'll read all this. Oh, there's one there. Okay, I got Mr. Poshio. He's at 1307B Grand Central. So, Mr. Poshio, very disappointing how streets are littered, the beaches are not being patrolled, and people are not wearing masks. People are waiting until 4 to enter our beaches and disrespect our beach property. This weekend was a disgrace what happened on the beach, as well as the social gatherings at the concert. Really needs to be addressed by town council. The beach badge checkers should be there until 5. The cost of the town is well worth the benefit to maintain our property and safety. Further, the town should implement lower limits of capacity. People come from Seaside for free parking and free beaches and litter our streets. Safety will soon become an issue if not aggressively addressed. We experienced that yesterday on Brooklyn Avenue. We should seriously consider raising the price of day badges and making it cost prohibitive. We are a family town.
Well, they're buying daily, they're buying weekly now,
So Mark,
we have effectively done.
Mike Burke, 109 Camden Ave. Hello, council. I have a question regarding the current condition of the watercraft launch ramp on the bay. For the past 5+ years, the town has issued a warning regarding the condition of the ramp and purchasing a trailer sticker. As the owner of both a wave runner and a 21-foot boat, I've grown accustomed to the less than optimal conditions, understanding the ramp would eventually be dredged fixed. Unfortunately, this year, the conditions of the ramp have deteriorated to the point at which I almost was unable to retrieve my wave runner when the tide went out. I was forced to drag my wave runner 10 feet in less than 3 inches of water just to reach the winch on the line of the trailer, or risk damage to my own vehicle. Asking what the plans are on improving the ramp, when specifically we can expect these improvements to take place with a substantial cost of a trailer sticker and loss of revenue to the town. Thank you for your time and appreciate your excellent decisions during these difficult times.
That's an ongoing project there. We got the bulkhead completed this year in that area. The ramp was always intended to be a separate project to come later on. I think we're still pending application approval on that.
So we got one granted and we're waiting on the other. I think we're waiting on the waterfront development.
Yes. So we're tackling those state obstacles, and we're hoping to get that completed along with the dredging of that area there to make the entire area more suitable for its intended purpose. The dredging remains a problem. I have sent a letter on to the DOT commissioner regarding what I find to be serious deficiencies in the project as it was completed by the contractor over this past winter. I have not gotten a response from them yet on that letter. I've asked them to go out and verify, as they do on road projects, that what we paid to have done is actually done, because I don't see it. A lot of shallow areas out there. They certainly didn't do what they had agreed to do with the Borough of Lavalette. But I still see the buoys out there, so it appears that their intention is to come back in the winter dredging season. It's already passed, right? It was July 1st was the start of the summer dredging season for 1 month.
It was June 1st to
July 1st, they weren't here for that, so we gotta, figure out whether they're coming back for the winter dredging season.
And Mayor, we did go through the expense and the work of getting the permits for the dredging, so we have that permit set.
Right.
It's 4 or 5 years. Some quantity has been taken by the state. We haven't determined when.
Yeah, I know, we
We
got
still have
problems
some
there,
quantity
so
left there.
advise him that, it's an ongoing project, and we hope to have it done as soon as possible. Hopefully by next season, it'll be completed.
Russell Burns, Brooklyn Avenue, I'd like to discuss beach overcrowding, no masks being worn while waiting seats to be open, late night drinking on the beach, outside bars, and violence and drinking on the beach yesterday. Why are we allowing Lavalette to become seaside? You will destroy the tax base by lowering house values if you continue to allow unlimited beach access and free parking. Badge checkers should be at minimum on weekends to 6 p.m. This will stop people loading the beaches at 4 p.m. with coolers full of alcohol. Now back to,
Mike, are you getting reports of that? Is that actually occurring?
That's one of the ongoing problems along the coastline, not just here.
Late afternoon visitors?
I can agree with that too, because I'm up there late.
Do we want to consider an extra hour or two of badge checkers?
well, what we did was we modified some police schedules.
Okay.
During the afternoon, we'll probably continue that. Additionally, we're probably gonna do some details this weekend, some plainclothes
The
details.
groups I saw up there late, because I go up there late, to sit up on the beach, and I'm positive they didn't have badges or anything like that. So even to check, I don't think the police officer going to check the badges.
I think we might have some excess revenue, so.
Mayor, for the record, there's some other issues. I spoke to Mr. Bryce today about it. We have cars pulling up on certain streets, and they're changing in their car, holding up towels so that they can't be seen. This is a whole new thing.
A new phenomenon. It's on the books as illegal, or ordinance.
I'm sure it is, but, we're gonna.
We need to know where they are and send a police over, and they can certainly issue.
Well, I've advised people that putting it on Facebook or calling me on the phone the next day
Doesn't work.
doesn't really help you. If they call the police, but I think what I'll do tomorrow is call the chief and see if I can get the police to do more patrols, particularly on the ocean blocks, on weekends and late afternoons. You start getting into the shift going off and the shift coming on, and
That's 6 o'clock though, right? They change shifts at 6. So.
yeah, well, but they're doing this like at 5.
Yeah.
Some of that, and as far as the drinking on the beach after hours, they're supposed to go with the quad, am I right, Mr. Bryce?
Yes.
They're gonna patrol the beach in the evenings and later to try to cut down on that, but I think it's wholesale. I think part of the problem is that the television reports of everything that's going on in the country have emboldened everybody to do whatever they think they want to do. And I think I would like to take a very firm, hard stand for everybody, local, resident, visitor, part-time, I don't care. I think if we really crack down hard, I remember years ago, and one of you at least was probably still in the police force, where the people coming out of the bars in Seaside didn't want to drive through Lavalette, because the Lavalette police, there was no tolerance. And I think if we impose a no tolerance attitude toward every violation, we can put this to end, because they won't want to be here.
I would agree with a very firm, swift response from the police department. So make sure that you have that discussion with,
I will do that
Chief, and I'm sure Mr. Price will as well.
And I would even say to the residents, occurring after the badge checkers are off duty, minimum, find a police officer up there, whether it's on a bike, on the board or something, as it's happening. Like Councilwoman said, that night, the next day,
In effect.
doesn't help us.
If they call up and give a location or
Right,
a description.
Worst case scenario, the guard's job is to focus on the water, I understand we've had some rough work. Worst case scenario, let them know they can radio it in. They can't necessarily.
Everybody has a cell phone. You see a problem, please.
The badge checkers are very good about letting people know.
Absolutely. If it's during the hours and the badge checkers are on, they will absolutely let them know. They will have to, there is a process for that. They're aware of it. We have the technology to radio that in almost immediately.
Why don't we see if we can get some volunteers who want to stay a little later on the badge check?
I can,
You know,
talk with our badge checker.
and if it's random, they won't know what street it is,
Exactly. See if,
right?
see if we can get some extra hours.
Okay, see if somebody wants to
I'll
volunteer.
do it.
And there's a volunteer over there. You're hired.
I have no problem, I'll do it.
Okay. Sign her up. Yes, Mr. Price.
Pat Physic, Trenton Avenue, does Loveland have an occupant/parking permit on home rentals? If you were, if you rent your house, do you have to provide parking?
No, there's no requirement that rentals have a parking permit or a designated parking space off-street. In order to build, there's regulations. Some pre-existing non-conforming structures might not be in compliance with the current regulations, but we do not have any restrictions or requirements for rental properties to provide off-street parking.
And that same Pat Physic, who's enforcing the COVID Airbnb, Craigslist, nightly beach rentals ordinance?
Well, it's not an ordinance, it's a directive, correct?
Yes,
It's a resolution.
and that is, that's code enforcement.
Yes, code enforcement. If someone is aware of one and they want to let us know about it, we'd be happy to take a look at it.
Marlene Chamberlain, any plans for 2306 Oceanfront owned by Robert Schroeder's wife Tina since 23 December 2014?
That's the house that burned up there and they demolished?
No.
Oh, the one next door to it. Oh, that's right, it's the one on the corner.
Trenton and Oceanfront.
Refer that to code enforcement.
I think that's in foreclosure.
Yes,
Oh.
it is.
I know when we were dealing with the insurance investigators on that minor, when we had to get that investigation complete so they get the demolition done, there was a claim pending on that. I don't know where it went though.
Maybe we follow up on that one.
Matty Ice, 18 Brown Avenue. Not once since the start of summer have badge checkers checked my cooler. Then Pat Physic again, so for clarification, the zoning office says zoning code enforcement. Do they know this? Yes, they should. I think we can call for any comments at this point, Mayor.
Okay, very good. Then I'll close the public portion and move on to council comments. Dave, we'll start with you. Jim? Joy? Michael? Bob?
I just want to mention that the Loveland School had a wonderful graduation at the gazebo grounds, which I think was the 30th one I attended, but it was just beautiful. They did a great job there. And also that the Loveland School did make the decision that they are opening in September. It's kind of easier now
Very good
because they're
decision.
small classes and not many children and big rooms, so they can do it. The only thing they're worried about, and they're still working on, what are they going to do with the 49 children that are scheduled to take the bus from Loveland to Point Pleasant Beach High School? That's what they're working on right now, to see how that's gonna happen. And what's gonna happen when it doesn't need, they know. But that's the big problem.
I think that's very good news for the borough.
Yeah. I don't think the people at the high schools made it that same decision. They
Probably.
elementary school.
I would think that they're on board and coordinated.
And they have to do it. And I also want to invite all of you to make sure you come if you want tomorrow night. Come see Toy Story 4. And Sunday, if you want to come, it's a great band, a little bit ahead.
There was some complaint about your lack of enforcement of the social distancing during public comment section.
Mayor, if I can comment on the schools.
You may comment on
The
the
schools
schools.
are submitting their plans to the state by the end of the month, and the governor is gonna make a statewide decision, so he can still. And it's all depends on that by the, I think the first week of August, the state.
Any other comments from you, Mr. Rhodes?
No.
All right, very good. So tomorrow's a power advisory day. You're going to get a message out, but we'll make that message tonight. If you can conserve electricity, the hours are which, Jim?
3 to 7.
From 3 to 7. If you can turn your air off for a half hour, turn it back on. Try to cut that peak down a little bit. It will save everybody money in the long run. See what you can do for us. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, if there are no further comments,
Do have executive, Mayor.
we do have an executive session. Mr. George.
Thank you, Mayor. During the executive session, several matters need to be discussed regarding pending or anticipated litigation. At this time, I do not believe that any action will be taken following the executive session. All of the minutes of the executive session will be available if necessary and appropriate under the Open Public Meetings Act.
Thank you, Mr. George. Motion to adjourn to executive session.
Second.
All in favor? We got more in the room?
No, you say it.
I'm stay here.
Okay.
You say it.